Okay, thank you. Uh, hey guys, welcome to Microsoft 365 Saturday Bangalore. I hope you're having a great conference. That was an excellent session, Smita and Nandi. You guys did a really good job. Um, so today's session, I'll cover mostly about SharePoint Syntex. It's a new offering from Microsoft, and we'll get into the details about it uh, today. Right. So to start with, before we dive into today's topic, I am Kunal Kankariya, Principal Solutions Architect at Infotection. I am also a Microsoft certified trainer. Prior to joining Infotection, I was working with Exaware as a modern workplace architect. I've also worked with organizations like CTI, Cognizant, and Infosys in the past. That's roughly about 12 years of experience, starting with SPS 2003, all the way to Microsoft 365 now. I also blog at kksimplifies.com about all things Microsoft 365. Do check out my blog and subscribe to get updates when I post something new, guys. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn, Twitter, or through my blog. Um, yeah, let's connect. Moving on, a little about Infotection. Infotection is a young firm with very experienced consultants specializing in information governance and protection in Microsoft 365. We are Microsoft partners, and since 2013, the leading consultant pioneering the design of Microsoft Advanced Data Governance Roadmap and making it relevant to our global clients. Our team is proud to be the pathfinders to have successfully transitioned several large and global enterprises to modern information governance standards in Microsoft 365. We work very closely with Microsoft engineering to define and improve Microsoft information governance and protection offerings for Microsoft 365 and beyond. We do not sell any additional software or licenses. Uh, we only focus on bringing maximum value to what you've already got. That is Microsoft 365. Um, uh, a big thanks to our sponsors, Microsoft, JPA4, Pantara Technologies, and Soho Dragon. Thank you for sponsoring the event. Yeah. So let's get started with um, uh, getting to know what are the challenges around um, content discovery and content management, or basically content services offering, right? If I were to classify the issues that we have often heard with a lot of customers out there, uh, around two aspects of content services, right? The first one would be about content discovery. People waste hours every week just trying to find the right information. Information is often found in disparate locations, and it is difficult for users to know which tool to use, where to search the information that they're looking for, and stuff like that. The result of this is that users often don't feel confident that the results that they get are really the single source of truth, right? This often leads to users having a constant need of context switching between different tools and applications to find the information that they need. The second aspect of content services is the content management itself. In many organizations, a lot of time is still spent on manually managing and maintaining metadata and taxonomies to organize process and process information. Users have little or no knowledge about how a information piece of information should be classified, tagged. Um, there are information silos which are difficult to secure, right? And it is difficult to ensure compliance on when there is information silos. Um, this also means that it is also very costly and very resource intensive to maintain such a system, right? This, of course, adds to the cost of productivity loss driven by poor search experiences and user dissatisfaction. There is another problem that data entry is often perceived, and in some ways, right, it really is labor intensive. At Infotection, we hear it often from customers that users don't want to spend time filling up metadata each time they've uploaded a document. Imagine having to read thousands of documents to figure out the metadata and then update it as a part of the document that you upload in SharePoint. It is time consuming and error prone, right? While a part of the problem can be managed by supplying default metadata values, not all metadata, right, can get default values, especially when the metadata value is going to be different for each document and is really based on certain values present in the document itself. Uh, all these challenges result in poor compliance and governance of information. Let's look at how Project Cortex resolves both these challenges that we have discussed. So Project Cortex is a the first offering, I think, after Microsoft Teams that Microsoft released, and uh, it leverages the Microsoft Graph, AI, and SharePoint to kind of build that intelligence around content services, right? For content discovery issues, Project Cortex applies AI to automatically organize related resources and relevant people to create a topic page, right? To create knowledge about that topic. And then it brings that knowledge to you, right? In all the different apps that you use every day, be it Outlook, be it SharePoint, using topic cards and stuff like that. So that's the way in which Project Cortex is trying to solve all the challenges that we discussed around content discovery. Now, the focus of this session, right, and what we are going to really look at is how, as a part of Project Cortex, SharePoint Syntex is used to solve all our content services issues like tagging content automatically. Um, while all that is being done, it is also, I mean, SharePoint Syntex also ensures that information security and compliance is maintained at the same time. Um, and as I've already mentioned, both these services from Project Cortex leverage the Microsoft Graph, AI, and SharePoint to bring all of that to you. Yeah. So yes. So what is SharePoint Syntax, right? SharePoint Syntax uses advanced AI and machine teaching to enable AI models think like humans while reading documents, right? Automate content processing and transform content into knowledge. Let us try and understand the three core aspects of SharePoint Syntax, right? For the first one is content understanding. With SharePoint Syntax, you are able to create no-code AI models to capture and classify and really teach the cloud to read the content the way humans do, right? You basically teach the AI to identify specific type of documents for you. That's the first bit when you get started. Um, then comes the content processing, right? Using advanced AI, these models will then be able to automatically extract metadata by finding key facts in your content to improve search and teamwork. You can then integrate with Power Automate to build flows that use these metadata that are extracted, build a business process flow around the whole automation that's already been driven by SharePoint Syntax. You can also ensure content compliance and governance. You have the option to enforce security and compliance. You can do this by automatically applying retention and sensitivity labels to the content the moment they are processed. All of this, and of course, the governance that you get with enhanced managed metadata services. Right. So all of that is built into SharePoint Syntax for you. So at present, what are the options that you really have for content processing, right? You can either do this manually today, right, which is of course labor intensive as we discussed earlier. It can, however, be applied to any type of content, be it images, PDFs, Office documents, or any type of file that humans can read and understand. You then have to define the relevant content types and apply the metadata that you are able to comprehend from your analysis, right? So it is kind of interactive. You have to go and do this everything yourself, right? Uh, with SharePoint Syntax, there are two things that you can do, right? You can either leverage the forms processing model or the document understanding model. The forms processing model is to extract data from structured or semi-structured content. It is best suited to capture metadata from documents like invoices or forms, where the layout is kind of similar, right, for all the documents that you will upload. While the document understanding model is used to capture metadata from unstructured documents like letters or contracts, right, which is kind of differ from one document to the other in some ways. The process of training the model is kind of automated in case of forms processing, but we really have to train and mark content manually while training the document understanding model. So that's the kind of difference between the forms processing model and the document understanding model. We'll of course go through the demo so that you understand in detail what I am talking about here. Right? And let's really actually look at what forms processing model um, is all about, right? Uh, so forms processing is initiated from a document library. During setup, you specify which libraries should have this enabled. The model itself is created in AI Builder. Needless to say that you need AI Builder credits for this. Um, you also the form processing model also uses Power Automate to attach itself to the library in question. And we have already discussed this, right? Form processing model is suitable for structured and semi-structured file formats. You need to make sure that you can, or actually you need to note that you can apply only one model to a single library, and only one forms processing model, that is, right, to a single library at a given point of time. Only PDF, JPG, and PNG file types are supported for the forms processing model. Let's look at the next one, the document understanding model. Uh, Document understanding models are initiated from the content center. You can have multiple content centers in your tenant. The model is also created using the content center, which provides a wizard-like interface. During the demo, I'll touch base more on what the content center is and what it looks like. Yeah, and document understanding models are best suited to extract content from unstructured file form. Right. You have to train the classifier manually, and also have to train the extractors which extract the metadata for you. Right. They can be published to multiple libraries in contrast with what we saw in forms processing model. Document understanding models can be published to multiple libraries via the content center. You generally use around approximately 10 to 15 files to train the model, and you need to include negative examples as well. Although the minimum threshold is about at least 5 files you need to supply to the model, but anything around 10 is good, right? It's not like we're talking in hundreds and thousands of documents that you need to train that particular model. Yeah. Okay. So what's up next? Okay, so what we're going to do is now go back and actually look at the demo, which is the crux of the session. I really wanted to show how the document understanding model works, how the forms processing model works, and really be able to see the differences as well as what the central theme around SharePoint Syntex is, right? Um, let's go ahead and do that. While out there are many document understanding model demos that you can find on YouTube and other blogs that you've read. Um, the forms processing model is a bit unknown, right? Um, so what I'll do is I'll also give a demo of that. Let's switch between apps. Just give me a moment. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we are in the admin center, right? What I'll first talk about is how do you set up SharePoint Syntex, right? And what are the kind of licenses that you might have. So I'll go to the, we will talk about licensing in detail actually. Let's leave it out for now. Towards the end of the demo, I do have a slide that covers licensing. So let's really concentrate on the setup for now. So the first part is to go to the admin center and Microsoft 365 Admin Center, go to the setup uh, section, and then scroll all the way down until you reach the files and content section. All right. There is once you've enabled SharePoint Syntex, you will get automate content understanding as one of the options. The status will not be completed initially. What I've done is I've already set up, but at least we can go and look at how how I've done that for my tenant at least. So the moment you click on automate content understanding, it actually takes you to a page where it really talks about what SharePoint syntax is, how users impacted, the links to learn more about it, and about content understanding and stuff like that. But what we are really interested is setting up SharePoint syntax. So let's click on manage. There are really two options. One is for forms processing and the other is for document understanding. Um, so the forms processing, as I told you, is more of best suited for PDFs and images, right? And the documents where there's a structured layout. So forms processing, as I told you, they are initiated from a document library. So what you need to do, or as a part of the setup, is to select which SharePoint libraries will get this particular feature. Now there are options to select all the libraries in the SharePoint site, or you can select different sites that you have, or you can even provide a spreadsheet saying that, okay, these are the sites and where I need this particular functionality attached, right? So that's about forms processing. That's how you set it up. I can even actually show you the spreadsheet, what it looks like, because in this case, what I've done is set up forms processing for a particular site in question. If you see, this is what the template looks like, and this is my site where I have set up the forms processing. Okay, let's go back, right, and let's look at how we set up document understanding. Now, in contrast, um, document understandings are initiated from the content center, right? Content center is basically a SharePoint site where you create those models, train those models, and really publish those models to your document libraries, right? So all those functionalities are present in the content center site. So what you need to do is a part of your setup is give the content center a name and a URL for your content center site, right? Once you're done with that, you'll be able to set up document understanding. The second part is that, and one more important thing to note is that with you can get multiple content centers, right? Within within your tenant, if you go to the SharePoint admin center, let me just open that up, and it is just like creating a new site. When you go to the active sites and you click on create, of course you see this particular wizard where you have the option to create a theme site or a communication site. But then there are, of course, you can leverage other templates. So when you click on other options, and once you've enabled it, you will get an option to create a content center site. So there can be multiple content centers as well within the same tenant. Right? So what it says, create a site to build and manage document understanding models, apply models to document libraries to automatically classify and extract information. As I told you, it's only for document understanding models, the content center site, because forms processing is initiated from a document library directly. We'll go ahead and see that as well. So that's about setting up of all the sites that are required for sorry, setting up of SharePoint Syntex. This is what you need. Let's go ahead and look at forms processing, right? What I've done is I've got, as I've told you, I have enabled forms processing on this particular site that I have here. And uh, once we have set it up, right, one thing to note is that um, I have a document library here. And what we'll really do is today is I have some invoices that we will try and process and see how metadata is extracted out of it, right? And I said the one thing to note would probably be that it works only on the modern view of a document library. So make sure you're in the modern view and not the classic view. There is another thing that I talked about during forms processing, that it leverages Power Automate to do to tie up the SharePoint as well as the AI Builder. Now, the model itself is created in AI Builder. So what we do is go to Automate, AI Builder, create a model to process forms. Now, the first thing that we are asked to do is set up a name for our model. This name also goes and becomes the name of the view that gets dynamically provisioned for you if we choose that option really. And also the content type is created with the same name, right? So let's go ahead and call it right. I'll just enter BLR. Okay. And when you go to the advanced settings, I told you, you have the option to create a new content type. The columns of these content types will depend on the information that you try to extract from the document, right? And they will automatically be created for you. The content type will be automatically created, and a default view with those columns will also be created, right? So when you click on continue in AI Builder, it actually takes you to Power Apps, right, where AI Builder actually exists. And of course, as I've already told you, you need AI Builder credits, right, to do this particular operation. Once you're there, what you will see is a wizard-like approach again to create a model. It starts creating the model, takes a while to do that, of course. And um, let's also do one thing. Let's look at the invoices. Meanwhile, when it's actually setting up, okay, it's already set up. Great. Let's also look at the invoices that we will try to process. So I have this PDF file, right? And just bring that up for you. Okay. So there's this invoice. I have got date, invoice number, different information, a standard invoice that we have, right? And um, I have details around what products are present, the total sale tax, the total amount, right? A standard invoice, nothing fancy here. Uh, so this is the document that we will try to process and extract metadata from. I'll close this for now and go back to, yeah. So what we will really do is from that particular invoice, we will extract the date, we will extract the name of the customer, we will also extract the sales tax amount as well as the total amount, right? I'm really interested in 4 fields, right? So what we need to do here is uh, give those fields those names and then try and extract that information, right? So the first one would be date underscore demo underscore invoice. Right? Forget the naming. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't get into duplicates and conflicts when we try to do this. Right. So the first one, as I said, would be date. The second would be the sales tax amount. Uh, okay. The third one would be the name of the customer. And the fourth one would be the total amount. Right. So really 4 fields that we are trying to extract here. Right. So this is the first option that you get, that you need to choose the fields that you want to extract. Click on next. What you're really asked here to do is create a new collection. Now, a collection is nothing but a group of samples that you will add to train your model. Now, why we need collections is because if there are different types of invoices with different formats and different layouts, you should actually put them in separate collections, right? So one collection is probably for one vendor whom you're invoicing, and the other collection for another vendor, which might have a slightly different format, or a layout, and you should ideally create new collections for each of these distinct document layouts. Right. So I'll go ahead create a new collection, and as you see here, at least 5 sample documents are required for each collection. So let's go ahead and add. I have, as I've told you, the file types that are supported are only JPG, PNG, and PDF, right? Nothing else. So let's click on add documents, upload from local storage, and I will upload the first 5 that I have. So we'll upload these 5 documents, and these documents will be used to train the model. Um, yes, so we've uploaded that now. Let's close it, and let's ask AI Builder to go and analyze these documents. What it's really doing right in the background is to pick each one of those documents and to try and understand or dissect the different words that are present within that within that PD, within those PDF documents, right? It is trying to locate, right? So how it basically works is it gives a position to each and every um, different word that it, if I may say so, right? Different word that it finds in that particular document. It analyzes all the 5 documents. It sees what kind of fields that we are trying to tag, and also really see if there is a key around it. When I say key, we generally have labels, right? So when I say date, I've in my invoice I've got a label called as date. The other part I've got an invoice number. So that these are really the details that um, it tries to figure out on its own. But the first time when you come here, you've got all the 5 documents uploaded in that collection. You click on show detected words. What happens is it actually shows you the words that it has detected. Now that's what it did in the background, right? It tries to dissect the whole document into different words that it can find. And what we are really supposed to do here is to map these against the fields that we want to, that the fields that we have, right? So the first one is date demo. So the date is really this. Um, One thing to make sure is that you need to map the values, not the label, right? So just select the value and select the field accordingly. The next one is the sales tax amount. So I'll go here, and then next one is probably the total amount and the customer name, right? So the customer name is two words. If I try and select it, uh, it will only give me a single word. So what I need to do is drag and select both the words so that I can tag it, right? So what we've done really is tag all the four fields. We need to do this for each of the 5 documents that we have uploaded. We'll move next in the hierarchy. And one interesting thing to note here, right? See that it has already figured out the date, the sales tax, and the total amount for me. And uh, it is they did not figure out the customer name. Why is that so? Is probably because, as I told you, there are labels around my fields that really identify them, right? So AI is in full power here to to do this for us automatically. The only thing that it's not able to detect is the customer name. So we will train this particular model to find that out for us, and we'll do this across all the documents. Okay, and the next one. Okay, so can you see that it's now able to figure out the name on its own? I did not have to tag it, right? So this is how it learns with each of the samples that you add. Um, we will go and click next. And this is just a summary of what we have done, right? Who owns the model? What are the details that we're trying to extract and stuff like that. Let's just click on train. Uh, this test takes some time. It actually goes back and trains the model to how to extract all these fields that we've talked about. Um, once we are just give me a second. So yeah, okay. So once we are done with the training, what happens is the next step would be around publishing it, publishing this particular model, and then really attaching it to our library where we had actually initiated this from. Now, as you will see, that this is done through Power Automate, right? So there will be a Power Automate trigger uh, that will uh, allow that will trigger based on um, new files that are created in the library, right? And automatically send the content of those files to our model. And when the model has actually finished processing them, it will send those values back to SharePoint to update the metadata. Right. So let's just wait for the training to finish. It should not take much time, hopefully. So yeah, I think this has finished. Yeah. So as you see, the model is now trained, and we'll go ahead and look at the details of the model. Uh, and and this is how it's related, right? I told you it will create a Power Automate flow. Not yet, because we are yet to publish the model. So we'll go ahead and publish the model. If you see, there's one more option to run quick tests within the AI builder itself. So when you click on quick test, it will allow you to upload some test files and see whether it's really extracting the information that you are that that you wanted it to extract, right? You can do this right here, but what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and publish it and test our model out back in the library directly. So I'll wait for it to get published. Yes. So once this is published, you can click on use model, and it will ask you to create a flow. So as I've already told you, the whole thing is tied using a Power Automate flow back to SharePoint, and you need to make sure that your connections are set up right for SharePoint and CDS. Why do you need CDS? Is that's where the models are exactly stored, right? It's stored in CDS, and just click on create a flow. So once it is a created flow, it will ask you to go back to the document library in question, and you should be able to use the model there. Cool. Yeah. So just click on go to SharePoint, and what you see here is now I've got those fields that I wanted to extract, and I've also got the view. Right. So this is set up for me, the view that has been created, and the content type has been created, and this is really the invoices demo. So you see there is a icon here about more information, and once this library is automatically is associated with a forms processing model, you get this particular information icon where you can see all the active models that are present in this particular library. And why, as I told you, the forms processing model can associate only with a single library at a time. But what I can do is I can also have another document understanding model on the same library, right? We'll see that later. But that's how different models can be used in a single library, right? So this is what the active model looks like. Let's go ahead and upload some files that. So we had uploaded files 1 to 5 to really train the model. What I'll do is upload invoice 6 to actually see whether it's able to discover the metadata on its own or not, right? And when you're done with that, it gives you a nice little information tip saying that we are analyzing a file, one or more columns will be updated, right? And what's really happening in the background, right? Let's go and see our model in AI Builder again. And what I'll show you is how the whole thing is tied together. We talked about Power Automate. Yeah, let this load. So now one flow has been associated with our library, and this is how it's powered, right? So there is one flow that should already be running. As you see, it's running here to extract the data for us. Let's go ahead and look at what the flow looks like. So when a file is created, right, that's the trigger for you. It has already picked up the site, the library, and what it really checks is the kind of files if they are within the boundaries of forms processing model, which is PDF, PNG, JPG files. It extracts the file content. It predicts sends the file content to the AI builder, and once the AI builder has analyzed it and has a response ready, we actually update the properties. That's it. Now, the best part that I feel is that you can embed a lot of business process governance around it, right? And um, you can really, after, you can probably extend this flow itself, right? You can send an email once the metadata is extracted, or any sort of business process that you want to build around it, or trigger another flow. Um, or there are a lot of options for you, right? So this is how it ties. And let's go back to the library. And if you see, the data is here now. So I've got the date automatically. I've got the sales tax amount. Um, I've got the customer name, and I've also got the total amount. There is a classification date for you. This is really, this can be used again to bind Power Automate to this particular trigger, that once the classification is done, right, what kind of processing that you want to do in the background. So if you just want to go ahead and see the invoice 6, I can probably do that. Let's fire that up and really see the date is 8/5/2009. The invoice number, the company with the long name is the name of the company itself. Uh, for my lack of creativity, I had to name it that way. The sales tax and the total amount, that is 100,400. Right. So let's go back and see. So yeah, you have the data here, and this is how really forms processing works, right? Okay, that is all about forms processing that I wanted to talk about really. The next one is the document understanding model, right? As I told you, in contrast, the document understanding model starts from the content center. Now, I've already told you that the content center is just a SharePoint site with all the features that are required to build document understanding models, right? So this is the content center that you're looking at, right? It also has a guided tour for you on how to create models, right? I'll anyways be doing that now. So we'll just have a look at it. And what we are really trying to do here as a part of document understanding model is I have some contracts, right? That um, some consultant agreements that we really want to process and extract information out of, right? So let's get started with this. How do I start with unstructured documents and how we can read unstructured documents from a document understanding model? So click on new, click on document understanding model. The first thing again that you are asked to do is name the model. More or less the same kind of setup, right? You are asked to create a new content type or associate an existing content type. For our demo, what I'll do is I'll just name the model agreements BLR demo. This is the name of my model, and we'll go ahead and create a new content type, right? This is very interesting. There is also an option to apply retention labels as and when the files are being processed, right? The moment they have finished processing, you can apply retention labels. And what we also know for sure is that support for sensitivity labels is around the corner. It's not there yet, but we've heard from Microsoft that they'll be adding that feature as well. And that's where the crux of the whole thing is, right? You are able to apply retention and sensitivity labels at the same time. So most of that manual processing, all that human intervention is kind of not required anymore. So that's a great thing. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and apply one of the retention labels that I have, probably the information technology projects. It's just a label that's present in the compliance center. Right. That's about it. Let's click on create.
Kunal, we have 8 minutes left, and there are some questions as well.
Sure, I'll try to wrap it up as fast as possible. Thanks for that. Okay, so the first thing that you're really asked to do is to add training files. We'll click on add files. I have already uploaded some documents to the training files library, right? What you are supposed to do is if you don't have files already, you just need to upload it right here, and then you'll be able to choose the files that you really want to use. So I have different types of consultant agreements, and one thing to note is you need one negative example uh, in your training files, right? So these are the positive examples that I have, and one of the negative examples. Just click on add, and so they get added here at the bottom. And what we'll do is next is to train the classifier. We teach it to distinguish between different document types based on the sample files. In our case, it will really identify if the files are consultant agreements or not, right? That's what we are going to do in the first section, right? So what we are going to tell this is that, okay, this is a consultant agreement. Yes, mark it as positive. This is also a consultant agreement, marked as positive. We'll do the same thing for the fourth as well as the fifth document. Now, when we reach the negative sample, it's an employee agreement, right? It's not a consultant agreement. So this is the negative sample that I have, right? So I'll just click on no. So this is the negative sample. And once you have enough files that you have trained, it will say that you can move on now to the train section. And we need to add an explanation, right? An explanation is to define why you're saying that it's not a why this is a consultant agreement and why the negative sample is not a consultant agreement, right? What defines that? So you really have two options here, blank or to start from a template. So let's go ahead and click on blank for now. And what you can do is you can define phrases that if I find this particular phrase in this document, it means it's a consultant agreement. Otherwise, it's not. So let's just click on that, and I'm just going to name it title. All right. And the phrase list will really be consultant agreement. Click on save. and it will evaluate all the documents for us automatically. And once you see, once I've reached here, I'll probably kind of minimize the zoom so that you can better evaluate this. So here, if you see, I have matches for all of them. All right. So it's correctly predicted as positive for the example, and for the negative example, it is correctly predicted as a negative example. So then we move on and we can really go to the test section. Uh, we don't need to do any testing for now. We'll just, because of lack of time, I'll just skip that part. The next step is to create an extractor, and extractor is really the columns that you, or the fields that you need to extract. In our case, what we will do is we'll try and extract the, let me go ahead and open up the one of the agreements for you quickly. So what we'll try and do is extract the agreement number. I actually had planned to extract multiple fields, but um, I think we'll run out of time. So I'll just extract this agreement number from this consultant agreement, right? That's what we'll be doing here. So we'll call it agreement number BLR. And we'll create a new column. Let this be of the type number. Right, so you are allowed to choose types. There are 4 types currently: single line of text, multiple line of text, date and time, or the number, right? And you can even choose existing columns and existing content types that I showed earlier. And we go through the same process again. We identify by selecting the value that we need to extract, right? So we do that first for the first sample, then we move on. We do this again for the second sample. Right. So what we're telling is, the first thing you have to make sure is you select the values that you want to extract. This is what we want to extract from all our positive samples that we have, and from the negative sample, we really don't want to extract anything, right? So we say that, okay, there is no label present, and this is what we do. Then we need to train that particular model. Again, add an explanation as to why this is an agreement number, right? So as to distinguish between different types. So what I'm going to do again is choose a blank template here and call it phrase for agreement. And I'll choose a phrase list. I have the option to select a pattern of the proximity and stuff like that, but let's just go ahead with phrase list now. And the phrase will always be, this agreement number is for all my consultant agreements, right? Whereas in case of an employee agreement, it is an employee number, right? So I'll just click on save. So if you see now, it has evaluated everything is a match, and for the negative sample, it couldn't find out any label because the phrase next to that is the employee number is, right, which is not according to what we had said. That's about it, and we are good to go, right? So again, it will ask you to test. We don't want to test it right now, and the last part is to apply the model. Is to select a particular library. In this particular this thing demo, I have, I think it's agreement demo consultants. Yes, this is the library that I have in one of the sites where I really want to apply this model. And I'll just click on add, and it will publish that model to that particular library. So I'll just go to the library. And if you see, again, the same kind of interface that we have, this library can classify documents for you. You have the active models, and this time it's a document understanding model. What we'll go ahead and do is, and if you see, it has already created the content type for you, the view for you, similar to what we had in forms processing, with all the agreement number column present, right? I'll just upload a file quickly.
Kunal, we just have like 1 minute left.
Sure, I think I'm done with the demo almost. And what it will go and do is analyze all these document for you and extract the metadata, similar to what we had in forms processing. So that's kind of about the use cases are generally, as I told you, invoices, forms processing for forms processing model, and for unstructured document, it can be contracts, agreements, and stuff like that. Summary is to create and train the model, create and train the extractors, test and tune the model, publish it to the sites that you want, and you can validate the outcome of the model. Quickly, I'll go through the licensing. It costs about $5 per user per month. Anyone using, consuming, or otherwise benefiting from SharePoint Syntex capabilities requires a license. Forms processing requires AI Builder credits. It's about $500 for 1 unit of AI Builder credits. And if you have 300 SharePoint Syntex licenses, you get 1 unit of AI Builder credits for you free, right? So that's about the licensing. And that's it. I have reached the end of my demo. If there are any questions, I'll take it up.
Yes, there are actually a couple of questions. So first question is from Pranam. Can I train multi-page contract with specific items to be extracted that might appear on any page, but with specific keywords associated with them?
Of course, you can do that. Of course, you can do that. Yes. So if you see in the contract that I have tried, I mean, I've extracted a value from the first page, but I can also go to the last page and extract things like, okay, this is my charges or this is my rate, $80, right? And this is present in the last part of the contract. So of course, you can do that. And I can even actually show that to you. Not here.
Yeah, so I think what he's asking is the contract number is on page 1 or page 2. It doesn't matter if I train the model
It does not
properly.
matter. Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay. Again, second question from him. Can I use the CDS within Microsoft Teams, Project Octale or Dataverse for this workflow?
No, you cannot. So CDS has to be within the main Dataverse that you have, not the Dataverse for Teams, right? Which is in Power Apps.
And does this work with OCR'd PDFs as well? Does contrast, background, and resolution of the scans of the PDFs matter? I would say yes, but I back to you.
Yeah, so I don't think that matters really. It should be able to read that, right? But I haven't tried it, so yeah, kind of difficult to be 100% sure.
Even it should be in at least a little bit of clarity in terms of that the system can understand it. So if it is really poor for human reading, it will be poor for AI reading as well.
Of
so
course,
I
yes.
would take that from there.
And because then it's able to extract data from images as well. So why not PDFs, right? That's the whole idea.
Correct, exactly. It does work with PDF. I know, I've seen demos already, so we are good there. Any learning path or other sources you would like to recommend for learning SharePoint Syntex? That's a good question.
Okay, yeah, that actually is. So there is documentation around SharePoint Syntex, Microsoft documentation. Of course, you can go through that. It might not have the full demo that we have just shown you here, but it does really talk about how it works in the background, right? And the more important thing to know here than how it works is what are the use cases, right? That's really important for me. That's how you'll be able to talk to your customers and figure out how it can help them, right? So Microsoft documentation, and of course there are some YouTube videos out there by community members who have already done some work on this. Yeah.
And we have just one last question here. Does content understanding currently support any other language than English?
There is, I think, any language that supports Latin keywords is what I heard it supports. And within the documentation, there is a defined list of languages that it actually supports. So I don't have it on top of my head right now, but that information is present in the documentation.
All right. That's it for the questions. Thank you so much, Kunal. That was an amazing session. Learned a lot today. I hope the audience learned as well. And please don't forget to fill the form as well. And we will have a quiz at the end of all our sessions. So please attend that for a chance to win other prizes as well. Thank you so much, Kunal. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for staying. Yeah. Have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye.